the week using the xBrat Stocks Predator. We have a lot of results this weekend. This is an automated email generated by the system, and depending on my dynamic watch list, but basically I'm looking for full confluence bullish, and there's a lot of signals come through in there in that email. But before we do that, I'm going to go over last week's stocks. I did this live again, the stocks pick of the week live stream. It was on Eaton, and I wanted a sort of a move through this level of around about 1464. And it's had a really great week. Not a lot to say, really. We've still got an $18 target there if we were to swing trade this or for options trading. If we want to look for a longer term, we'll talk about that as the weeks go along. So I want to update you each week. This is a new segment for me. This software has taken 18 months to develop and the strategy, the confluence strategy, comes from my book, Confluence, Not Coincidence. So lots and lots to choose from this week. So when I first look at my my confluence board, so this is the potential. There's 31 potentials there, and they've got 3 out of 3 confluence. So very, very strong opportunities. This is what we call a dynamic watch list. So how you set up those filters on the dynamic watch list will then will email you every 24 hours automatically, the system. So lots to choose from in there, and there's some really good ones. I mean, again, just a quick look. I looked at FFIV with I've done some work on that already with where the support and resistance zones, where the channels are, that sort of thing. Lots of fresh air on that one. FTNT, again, another potential for me there. If it can break through this resistance, there's a lot of room up above, but I've chosen one other. So I'm just going to go to my main watch list because I add them to there. I'm going to be looking at RSI. Okay, so RSI for me has a lot more fresh air to trade into. There's a lot more before there's a resistance zone up there. The beta, so 1.78, really good. So it's outperforming the stock market right now. And again, 73% to that 52-week high. So there's a lot of room up above. So this, just from those scan results, looks good to me. But then if we make this a little bigger, one of the things I always do when I look at these and how to grade them for myself is I just nip to the weekly chart. And one of the things I really like to look at is, where are those big weekly zones that's going to cause some problems for those moves up? Because, I'm not going to be options trading. I'm not going to be looking for shorts, although this was a great short down here for RSI. That was fantastic. But what I'm looking for is to just join the dots, all this cluster of these weeks here, and just take that across. And then we've got this step here, this clustering here and here. And then that actually coincides. There's no coincidence, though. It's a confluence with this recent 52-week high here. And that then gives me the chance to understand this main sort of bullish channel that I've drawn in. It's quite a wide channel, but I always take that confluence of linear and non-linear very, very seriously. One of the things with channels, and again, they're going to be doing a lot of live streams in the coming weeks and months, is the center line of this channel. We can see the support here, 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 here. Okay, so this is really strong. This is the trend. This is the center line, the line that we can see this trend moving. It does pull back down, and this is the bottom bound. But this is where we can draw on that weekly channel. We can put this support and resistance zone down here. Again, we can see it's tested this at the lower end of that channel. It's tested it during that middle of the channel from below here. And then when we go left, major pivot here as well. No coincidence there. This is setting up really well. So again, I've just gone and joined the dots for the weekly, put those major linear support and resistance zones on, and then I've gone and done, I really understand this channel from sort of September 2023, really. It's, strong bullish move. Yes, we've had, in February we had this pullback, and this is probably down to earnings really. But the main thing is we understand that behavior, and it looks like it wants to go back up now. So we go back to the daily, and this is what we're looking at really. This is how we're going to identify some potential here, because there's a lot of room up above here. So with confluence, the green arrow here is the first bit of confluence that came in on the 11th of April. Okay, so on that confluence meter that we see on the left here, we can see these 3 traffic lights, if you like. So that was the first instance. So on the 11th of April, we would have just had 1 green and 2 yellow. Then, as we can see here, the bicep heat map is all green and yellow, no real. But then we start to give, and on Friday we get a 6-star buy. Okay, that's the xBrat algo. So for a 6-star buy signal, you've got 12 confluences out of 12 to give you that buy signal. Not only that, all 6 time frames have just turned green here on Friday on the bias depth heat map. So that's our confirmation. That looks up higher time frames. So we've got a great potential opportunity. Just wanted to check now where the earnings is as well. So that information is on here. So 30th of 4th. So we have earnings really, really soon. Okay, so it's 28th Monday, and we are looking at Wednesday for that earnings. So there could be a great earnings reaction here, and it's something you're going to have to bear in mind. There is a lot of fresh air up there, so if we do get a slight gap, we're okay. Okay, so we don't want to get in early, or options traders may want to play that with a $17 target, if you like, strike price. But in reality, we should be ready for this. And we have, one of the simple things we can do here is just look at our risk to reward. If I look at where the stop is, this yellow line here for the roller coaster, and we look for an entry there, just above Friday's high, we can see we've got lots of risk to reward there. I'm just going to clean that up a little bit and take some of those away. 0.3. So take the 4 away, and those away, just to clean that up a little bit. So we have, in effect, around about 1 to 2 to that next sort of resistance level at $17, which is good. So, I could be really aggressive, do a little bit more work on understanding the earnings cycle and the probability of a good move up and get in before earnings. Again, that will probably be a lower risk type of entry. It's quite a cheap stock, and then obviously on the earnings reaction we can add to it, or we can wait for that earnings reaction and look at it sort of pre-market, see what's going to happen, and then put those orders in. There's quite a lot of options there. I'm not going to try and teach people to suck eggs here. So it's all I'm doing is my stocks pick of the week, what I'm looking for, again, how the week starts, and what the sort of risk I want to take with this. That'll be my decision later on in the week. But right now, this really does look good. So even if we get a gap on earnings to around about here, for example, around about $13, I don't see it gapping much more than that. When I look back, the gaps, there's not a great deal on this. This is earnings here. We can see this gap up here, but it wasn't, it was what's from the close here at 648 to 750, so around about $1. And that's probably the biggest gap I can see here. And we're at 12.25 now, so 13 is way overestimate for a potential gap, but we've got a couple of days. But still a great deal of risk reward up until that point. So this is where I'm looking at. So an aggressive entry for this would be on Monday with a stock market around about 12.39, something like that. Maybe a little less, but depends on the gap on Monday. I'm making this video on Sunday, but this, I'm really toying with the idea of being really aggressive here, and looking to perhaps get a certain amount of shares at this point, and then if we get a good bullish earnings reaction, I will then look to add to that, and then sort of we can sort of average out that price. So if I can get some at 12.39 and some around 13, I'll get an averaging price. I'll look for a gap up on earnings, and that's probably the way I'll play with that. I'll probably go for 1/3 Monday and then 2/3 on earnings reaction. If the earning reaction goes against me, not going to lose a great deal. I'm going to look for this support to hold, especially as this channel is very, very strong as well. So technically, there's a lot of confluence here. We need that earnings reaction, but I think if we can average with whatever it is, so 100 shares, for example, on Monday, and then on the earnings reaction, add another 200 shares. If we get that bullish reaction there, that will help average out my holding for this position. So that's my stocks pick of the week. I've gone through the previous stocks pick of the week there. So RSI really is what I'll be looking at next week. There is a lot of other options, FFIV, FTNT. I'm not going to go through those. I'm only choose one stock a week, but there are lots of opportunities from that I will be looking at as well. So hopefully that helps. Stocks pick of the week using the Stocks Predator. This is brand new technology, again, born from my book, Confluence, Not Coincidence. It scans lots and lots of stocks. If I look at the end of day scanner here, take the filter off, 4,917 stocks, ETFs. We're looking at even futures. By the way, platinum futures came up as Confluence for a buy on the daily time frame in this weekend scan as well. So that looks interesting. So check out the links below. It's a great tool, standalone dashboard, and it's web-based. So wherever you are in the world, whether you're trading Indian stocks, we've got those on there, UK stocks, German stocks, US stocks, we've got them all on there, and we scan every 24 hours for those potential opportunities. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll